this is Jessica, and today I'm going to be creating this butterfly in my brand new Dina Wakley Media blue journal and using the gloss sprays as well. So as you can see, I've opened the journal and I've went to a jean page, and I'll be honest, the most exciting part of this journal for me was the jean material. And so I'm just using some gesso with a stencil and I'm applying it with my mini blending tool. And so there's going to be white stars, I think these are called stars, all over the jean material. So I'm just doing this very haphazardly. Some are full, some aren't. And I'm going to let that dry. And after it's had a chance to dry, I'm going in with the gloss sprays. And I'm using magenta, fuchsia, lemon, and lime. And what I was trying to test here was to see how the gloss sprays show up on the denim material versus like gesso. And as you can see, they soak into the material of the denim, so to the point you almost don't see it, but they stay really bright and bold on that gesso. So it's sort of, the gesso is creating a resist on the jean material, which I thought was really cool. And now I've taken some Dina Wakley Media paint in Ocean and I've watered it down, and I'm just splattering it all over the tops of these stars just to add another color. And I'm just hitting my palette knife is actually what I'm doing. And then I'm going in with the smaller star stencil and lime paint on a mini blending tool, and I'm just adding some of those sporadically on the page. Kind of filling in the areas where I thought it needed a little bit more color instead of just the denim material. It also should be noted that I didn't really let those splatters dry, and I should have, so some of them in this get a little smushed. So make sure you let your splatters dry before you move on to the next step. And then I'm also going in with some white paint and this word stencil from Dina Wakley. And I didn't get a new blending tool, so the white sort of became a very light green. Now I'm going to stamp this butterfly stamp from Dilutions onto a piece of Ranger specialty stamping paper. Now I love this specialty stamping paper because it's a coated surface instead of just a raw paper. So when you put ink onto it, it doesn't sink in. It stays very vivid and bright as if the ink is still wet, but it's dry. It's an amazing paper. I love it. And I also love how white it is, where some papers are a little bit cream or a little off-white, which is also good, but for this I love the brilliant white of the specialty stamping paper. And now I'm going to begin painting my butterfly, and so these are a bunch of colors of Dina Wakley Media paint that I've added water to, so they're very liquidy. And just using my brush and color theory, I'm going to paint this on, so in the end it looks like a rainbow. So I'm making sure, red doesn't touch green, blue doesn't touch orange, and I'm doing this by separating it with colors that they do like. So like red can touch orange, that's fine, right? Red can touch yellow, that's fine. And so by doing that, I'm able to mix colors that technically shouldn't go together, but they are because they're, being separated by people. Think of them like a buffer. There's buffer colors in here. So like yellow is a buffer between the red and the green. And if it did so happen that a little bit of like a blue and orange touch, I'm not really overly mixing it so they don't bleed into each other. They just stay the pure color. Now this is a little bit of a learning process. So the first time you do it, it may not work for you exactly, but just keep playing with it because in the end you can get some really interesting effects by mixing colors that technically shouldn't be in the same layer. And I'm also going to paint the body, the little heart in the body of my butterfly red using ruby paint. Okay, so I've cut out the butterfly, as you can see here, and now I'm just using my tiny attacher to attach some, I think that's collage paper that I painted. Yeah, collage paper that I painted to a piece of burlap. And I just ripped up that tissue paper, collage paper, and then I'm just attaching it with the tiny attacher. And then gluing that down with Dina Wakley Media Ultra Thick adhesive. And this is a really great adhesive for working with fabrics or heavier weight papers because when it's dry, it's dry. Then I'm going to use a piece of embroidery thread, and I don't know what color this is. I think it's burgundy. I'll put a link in the description below that tells you what color I used, but I just cut off a piece of it and then sort of crumbled it together and placed it underneath this butterfly. And now over the top of all those elements, I am going to glue down the butterfly. So the wings were separated, obviously, so I'm going to glue down each wing, making sure that the center, the innermost part of the wings is almost touching and they're lined up so it looks like it's a real butterfly. It's symmetrical. And I'm again using the Dina Wakley Media Ultra Thick. And I'm using my finger, but if you preferred, you could use a palette knife or a brush. I just think it's easier to wipe my finger off with a baby wipe than to deal with a brush. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to, after I've placed the wings, I'm going to glue down the body of the butterfly. And I didn't put any glue on the antennas. So those are just going to be able to move around and be a little bit more free-flowing than the rest of the body. Then I took some watered down gesso and I'm splattering it on there so there's white splatters everywhere. And then a little bit of liquid pearls in bronze. And I'm just creating some 3D dots everywhere on the page. And the last step is to put a little bit of the Ranger glossy accents on that heart. And when this dries, it will be a completely clear enamel on the heart. And then I decided that there wasn't enough definition on the stars in the background, so I'm using my Stabilo All pencil in black, and I'm tracing around all of the stars so they have a little bit more definition. And I just feel like that's the element that tied the page together because the butterfly has so bold black lines that the background just kind of wasn't blending together. So just adding those few lines really was perfect and an exact touch I needed to finish my page. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspired you and gave you some ideas about things you could do in the Dina Wakley journal on the Jean pages. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future mixed media videos. Have a wonderful day.